Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. The stock market, the economy. Look at how well it's doing, guys. Right now I have the S&P 500 up on the monthly. And over the last decade or so, we have seen nothing but a positive return. I mean, of course, there are corrections along the way, but ultimately this trend is higher highs, higher lows, really demonstrating how well the stock market has done over the last 10 years, and it's not just the S&P 500. We can look at the NASDAQ, right? We're seeing the same trend here, and let's even look at the Russell 3000, okay? We're seeing the same trends, and I can even bring up the TSX, which is the Canadian stock market here in Toronto. Gains across the board. A lot of economies are tied into the American economy, and a lot of people think that, this party is going to last for a long, long time. But guys, that's never the case. I wanted to bring your attention to this because I think this is really important. I saw this tweet a few days ago now from XRP_veteran on Twitter, and it's a Coil blog post that I had some time to read from Panos Mekras, so that's at Panos Mek on Twitter if you guys want to follow him. Support the blog, The Next Recession, How Can New Technologies and Digital Assets Like XRP Help? And so we're going to get into this a little bit. We have to understand that everything is tied, okay? Within the global economy, there are so many things that are tied into one another, and some things could have a chain reaction on others. Now, cryptocurrencies, namely Bitcoin, came out of the last recession, out of the last stock market crash, and that's when Bitcoin was born. So we haven't actually seen how cryptocurrencies could potentially help the economy, solve some problems if, and I want to say when, because it's bound to happen. We have another economic crisis. It is looming, guys. It is not going to not happen, in my opinion. It's just a matter of time. When will it happen? So thanks so much to Panos. I want to read a little bit of this post. So the S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, hit an all-time high, and suddenly everybody forgot what is going on beyond the U.S. stock market bull run. Does this mean that the economy is booming as well? Let's look at the numbers. So he brings up a few charts here. Global debt on track to surpass $255 trillion in 2019. And he brings up this other chart here. The U.S. national debt keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. And I don't know if you guys can see this from 2012 all the way to 2019. We can see the debt ceiling. And it just keeps climbing. In February 2019, 22 trillion. November 1st, 2019, 23 trillion. And it seems as though it's on a non-stop trajectory skyward. In the first half of 2019, world debt added 7.5 trillion and is sitting at 250 trillion at the moment and is going to surpass 255 trillion by the end of the year. That's a whopping 330% of the world's GDP. The U.S. national debt is also ballooning while the economic growth is slowing down not only in the U.S., but in all the top economies, as it is set to decline even more in 2020. So global economic growth is set to slow, and we have some countries here depicted on this simple line graph depicting that. So what's all the fuss about? A short-term boost in the stock market? Is this market overreacting? Is this a bubble that will burst sooner or later? Is this the market overinflated? The answer is most probably yes, and don't forget, the 93.2% of the stock market is owned by the top 10%. That is a very, very important statement that Panos points out. You got to remember, guys, after the last crash of 2008, I read a stat on this somewhere, and I don't actually remember the exact statistic, but after this crash, wealth got redistributed, and it was something like, I don't even want to throw out numbers because I know I'll probably be wrong, but it was, so over this period, we saw a lot of economic prosperity for a lot of people, not just the richest. After the dot-com bust in the early 2000s, throughout the 2000s, we saw a lot of people were becoming prosperous through the stock market. Everyday people, mom and pops, middle class people were buying stocks. And then this crisis just wrecked them. People panicked. People lost 401ks, as you guys might know. And then at the bottom here, they were too afraid to buy back in. And the richest of the rich were the ones to do so. And so now when we've seen this economic boom over the last decade, the people who own all this, or most of it rather, are the top 10% of the wealthiest of the wealthy, rather than when the stock market saw a boom back last decade or even 2 decades ago, it was more dispersed evenly among the people, we'll say. I mean, give or take roughly. I mean, obviously I'm generalizing it quite a bit, but I think you get my point. So the Fed balance sheet has been growing again and increased by over $261 billion in just 2 months, surpassing $4 trillion. The not QE is on, right? What has transpired in private sector banking that used to create money supply by leveraging their deposits by ever-increasing multiples have been restricted from creating money using fractional banking leverage, so now the Fed has to do this magic itself. This is good and bad news. The good news is that we no longer need to trust the private sector to not abuse the money supply system to the point of collapse as per 2007. But the bad news is that rather than let the market define the demand and supply of money, it is now down to a small committee of humans at the Federal Reserve to get the balance right. Committees have, over time, been shown to be fragile systems for navigating complex economic matters, so a distributed flawed system has now been replaced by a centralized flawed system. What could go wrong? And yeah, so there are a lot of things here that we could delve into. I want to kind of keep this video as simple as possible. Guys, I will link this in the description. I'm not going to go over the entire thing, but Panos does have a lot of interesting things to say here. Despite trade wars fears, a yield curve inversion and declining forward earnings forecast, the stock market is booming. With central banks resuming QE, lowering interest rates, and the intervention of the Fed in the repo market, does this mean that liquidity is drying up? So liquidity. We go back to this. Before the 2007 crisis, regulators could trust the banks had enough liquidity to remain solvent. However, following the financial crisis and failure of several banks like Lehman, that ceased to be the case. The new regulations mandated banks to hold pre-funded accounts. And this is what Ripple is solving right now, pre-funded accounts. And this was a mandate from governments because banks needed bailouts back in the day. So now mandated pre-funded accounts or existing pools of liquidity to move paper currencies between banks in disparate countries. This creates a problem because there is a huge amount of trapped liquidity, trillions of dollars, that could be freed up and used most productively to help boost the world economy. And how? Well, we know about Ripple and XRP. We know about on-demand liquidity. Guys, I'm not going to get into this because we know a lot about this. He talks about countries like Venezuela and Argentina who are seeing a crisis within their own currencies, right? Hyperinflation. And so they talk about the idea of using cryptocurrencies in those countries. And we've even heard this from Brad Garlinghouse, right? You know, our fiat currency works fairly well because we come from a country where the economy is stable, more or less. And so our fiat currencies in the Western world, let's call it the euro, the GBP, US dollar, Canadian dollar, what have you, North America and Western Europe tend to have fairly stable currencies. And so we don't need to necessarily use cryptocurrency to make transactions, but in countries like this, you know, where, you know, despite Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies being super volatile, they are actually considered to be more stable in ways than these hyperinflated fiat currencies, namely the Venezuelan bolivar, as one example. So they talk a little bit more about this, and you know, what is the ultimate goal? Part of this was, you know, part of the idea here was the idea that could we in fact one day down the road have a hybrid fiat crypto that could be a world currency but still not get rid of national currencies? So kind of like a euro that is a crypto for the entire world that the entire world could use, but the world would also have their own fiat currencies that they can convert that world currency to. So not just have one sweeping world currency across the world that everybody is forced to use, but having kind of a hybrid system. And hint, to me, that sounds like something that, you know, if we had all the information behind closed doors, we could probably see the connections and the powers that be likely trying to position XRP to be that cryptocurrency, because we know XRP is used already or can be used already as a backbone currency to transfer fiat to fiat. Why not use that as a world currency? So there's this system of a hybrid system, fiat crypto. Thought that was kind of interesting. The ultimate goal, as we know, is that blockchain technology is revolutionary technology and will help with other emerging technologies. They can help decentralize the world and especially governments by making them more transparent and reduce corruption, manipulation, and control. Imagine a world in which real democracy exists and every citizen is a member of the country's network and can vote for any matter. It may sound crazy and utopian, but this could be the ultimate goal and is not something that will happen anytime soon. We still have a long way to go, guys. But are the masses waking up to this? And yeah, I do believe, if there is a financial crisis, I think cryptocurrency will go through the roof, whether it's through panic, whether it's through actual implementation from banks using, cryptocurrencies like XRP to solve for the liquidity problems. I think that this is going to really be the catalyst for us. Cryptocurrency investors, no matter what cryptocurrency you invest in, I think we could see an initial boom just because the world is so messed up financially and economically. Cryptocurrency will be looked at, I think, as that safe haven, that next safe haven, hedging against the current traditional system that we are mired in at the moment. And guys, I saw this from C3 Nick. Now, you guys know C3 Nick is pro XRP, but he brings up a good point here, and it might sound a little counterintuitive to some of you folks, but guys, listen to this. As soon as you think that you are smart, you probably aren't. It's in these moments that markets can turn on you in the most devastating way. Challenge your opinions all the time. Do not get sucked into echo chambers. This is true. You have to understand that, you always should look at all sides of everything, whether that's with cryptocurrencies, the economy, broader picture scenarios, especially when they can affect your bottom line, your wallet, your investments. So this is just, to me, a good reminder to continue to do your own research, continue to look at different possibilities, and to be honest, if there were an example, a really good example of something that could rival a company like Ripple and XRP or new technology that comes out, I would be covering it. I'm sure a lot of other YouTubers would be covering it as well, analyzing the possibilities of it being a potential XRP killer in quotes, or rather just an XRP rival perhaps at that point. But you always got to keep your mind open. You always got to keep your eyes open, especially when you're investing, because guys, it is your hard-earned dollars and you make the decision on where you invest your money. So who's still invested in the stock market? How much do you guys have invested? Is the only thing you're invested in cryptocurrency? I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.